A protagonist, who grew up in a single-parent household, had to take care of his younger brother instead of his mother, who worked nights at a bar. He had no time for a fun youth, but he eventually got married, had a daughter, and built a happy family. His only daughter's wedding was recently arranged. Just as he felt relieved to have fulfilled his parental responsibilities, his daughter made a shocking confession. Let's take a look what she said. "Listen to this, my wife betrayed me. She's been having an affair for 20 years. The daughter I raised with love was the other man's kid, and she knew about it. I was betrayed not only by my wife but also by my daughter. I can't believe paternity fraud actually happens in real life. No matter how I thought about it, it was unforgivable. So I sent my wife, daughter, and the other man straight to hell." You didn't notice it for 20 years? Even if she's not your biological child, you raised her up, right? Surely your love for her doesn't just disappear? Yeah, you're right. Even now that it's all over, I'm asking myself if I did the right thing. I'm prepared to accept criticism, but first, I want you to listen to my story. Before I get to the main point, let me start by telling you about the family environment I grew up in. It was just my mother, my brother who's 3 years younger, and me. I don't know that my father divorced my mother or no father to begin with. As far back as I can remember, there was no father. My mother was in charge of a small bar and was almost never home at night. My grandmother took care of my brother and me. After my grandmother died, I'd been taking care of everything at home. While my classmates were enjoying their time after school, I was riding my bike to buy the cheapest ingredients possible. My brother Sean is so different from me that I sometimes doubt we're really brothers. He's very assertive. On top of that, he's good-looking, so his classmates treated him like a king. The adults around him spoiled him too, so he grew up to be a selfish and self-centered man. I started working right out of high school to support the family, but Sean went to a low-tier college. Then suddenly, he said he wanted to be an actor. He dropped out, moved to LA, and started living on his own. The money for that was what I had worked hard to save up. My brother took it, saying, "I'll definitely pay you back, so lend it to me." He took my ATM card from my wallet and withdrew money without permission. My mother found a man and left, and Sean was gone too. I was finally free from both my mother and Sean, and I thought I could finally enjoy my own life. Around that time, a girl who worked at my mother's bar confessed her feelings to me, and we started dating. She used to come over to our house a lot. I thought she was interested in Sean, so I was surprised when she said she wanted to get married. Just as she said, she soon found out she was pregnant, and we got married. Then our daughter was born, and we became a family of 3. With just a high school education, I couldn't provide a luxurious life, but I vowed to do my best to protect my family. The struggle of raising a child with a parenting book in hand settled down as our daughter grew up. My wife said, "Now that our daughter is in elementary school, I'll go back to work," and she helped with the family finances. Our daughter grew up healthy. Unlike me, who's introverted, she's lively and assertive. When I heard that she's always at the center of her class, I laughed and wondered if she was really my child. This happened when our daughter was 10. Our peaceful daily life was about to change. My wife and daughter have an annual event that's just for the 2 of them. It is to visit my wife's mother's grave. We'll stay one night again this year. So we'll celebrate after you get back. I'll reserve a cake at the usual bakery. Thank you. She's turning 10 this year, so let's splurge on a big cake. Got it. It's a 3-hour one-way trip from our house to where my wife's mother is resting. Considering the transportation costs, we can only go once a year. One day, my wife said, "We'll visit the grave on our daughter's birthday. I want my mother to celebrate with her." Since then, they've been going on a little overnight trip that doubles as a grave visit on our daughter's birthday. I said I wanted to go with them, but my wife refused, saying, "Don't join our girl talk." I was sad that I couldn't celebrate our daughter's birthday on the actual day, but I also enjoyed feeling free like when I was single. This year too, my wife and daughter celebrated the birthday, just the 2 of them. A month later, Sean came back. After struggling to make it as an actor into his 30s, he finally gave up on that path. My wife and I were relieved that he was finally ready to get a steady job. Sean started coming over to our house a lot. My wife cooked for him and fed him. I'm sorry Sean comes over a lot. Why? I'm happy to have family over. Even though it's extra work and expense, she's so kind. I thought I had married a great woman. Kids grow up fast. Our daughter was in middle school before we knew it. My assertive daughter's rebellious was intense. She started to talk rough and come home late. She fought with my wife every day, sometimes with things flying. When I tried to intervene, my wife would shut me out and say, "Stay out of this." Then one day, that rebellious phase completely disappeared. What happened? I asked my wife. But she said she didn't know. Anyway, our peaceful daily life was back. That's just how teenage girls are. When the women are at peace, the home is stable. Our daughter entered high school and reached the age to think about her future path. I had given up on college for financial reasons, so I wanted our daughter to go to college. What are your plans for the future? I'm getting married. Married? Do you have someone? Don't tell me you're pregnant. I don't have anyone. I don't want to study or work, so I want to marry a rich man and be a housewife. I was speechless. I felt pathetic, wondering if I had raised her wrong. Look, society is? Shut up, leave me alone. I thought I'd give her an unusually serious talk for once. But she quickly went to her room. When I asked my wife, she brushed it off and said, "Let her do what she wants." After graduation, our daughter, who had been jobless and aimless, brought home a future husband, just as she had said. He was an elite man working for a major trading company. His father was the president, and he had many doctors in his family. He was a good young man who didn't flaunt his upper-class upbringing. Where did you two meet? On a dating app. I asked my daughter in secret after her fiancé had left. That's how young people are these days. The wedding plans went smoothly, and the date was set. Both my daughter and wife were busy with wedding preparations. There's no role for the father of the bride. As I was relaxing in the living room, my daughter came to talk to me, which was rare. "Dad, I have a favor to ask. Could you make this to hand out at the wedding?" What she showed me was an A3 size paper. A favor? That's unusual. Let me see. A wedding newspaper, huh? That's what you are working at a printing company. You know your stuff. We get orders for them from time to time. Sorry for interrupting. What's a wedding newspaper? It's a paper handed out to wedding guests that describes the couple's background and how they met. It's printed in a tabloid newspaper style, like a celebrity scandal. I see, I get it. When I agreed to the easy request, my daughter happily said, "Thanks, Dad." She's finally getting married. It's quite moving. My duties as a parent are coming to an end. Well done. You must be relieved. The protagonist, who has been hard at work raising his daughter, while being pushed around by unprecedented personality. With his daughter's wedding arranged, he felt a sense of relief. However, his daughter's shocking confession leads to a sudden turn of events. 3 days before the wedding, I was spending time alone with my daughter. I thought she was still a child, but I was feeling sentimental about her getting married. "Dad, I have something to tell you." Here it comes. This must be that scene you often see in dramas where the bride expresses gratitude to her father. What is it, being all formal? I tried to sound calmer than usual to hide my inner excitement. I want to walk down the aisle with my dad at the wedding. Of course. Don't worry, I'm practicing my walk so I don't step on your dress. Not you, Dad. My biological father. Ha? What are you talking about? You didn't know, did you? You and I aren't really related. I'm sorry for keeping it a secret all this time. But I really want to walk down the aisle with my real dad. Wait a minute. You need to explain this properly, or I won't understand. Mom and my real dad love each other, and Mom got pregnant with his child. But they couldn't get married for some reason, so I had been raised as your child. That's me. Is that true? I couldn't stop my voice from shaking. It's true. Mom told me. She asked me if I wanted to meet my real dad, and I said yes. So the three of us met. We've met many times since then. I'm sorry for keeping quiet about it. I understand. Thank you for telling me. I'm sorry, but that's all I can say right now. I'll try to talk to Mom about it. Don't blame Mom, okay? It's not her fault. How can you say it's not her fault? Mom loves my real dad. Their love is very precious. I want Mom to be happy. Dad, please, divorce Mom and let her go. I understand how you feel. But I don't want to hear any more right now. Uncle Sean also said he wants to see me in my wedding dress. What did you just say? Sean? Why are you bringing up Sean? Because Uncle Sean is my real dad. I couldn't believe my ears. If what my daughter was saying was true, I had been deceived for over 20 years. It was like being hit on my head with a blunt object. I'm home. My wife came back from a hair salon. I want to talk to Mom alone, so could you leave us? Don't get angry at Mom, okay? I'm on Mom's side. My daughter's words dealt the final blow. On Mom's side? She hid the fact that she was another man's child and had me raise her as my own? Even though she betrayed me for 20 years? The daughter I had raised with love felt like a stranger. It's late. I'll start making dinner right away. Sit down. We need to talk. My wife seemed to understand everything from that. You have something to tell me, don't you? It's about our daughter and Sean, right? I'm sorry for keeping it a secret. Is that all? Did you approach me from the start with the intention of pushing your child onto me? That's right. I was dating Sean. But he had other women too. I wanted to have Sean's child. But he said he couldn't marry me because he was moving to LA. Sean told me, have my brother raise my child. You don't even need to marry my brother to have his child, he said. My brother has no experience with women, so if you seduce him, he'll be up for it in no time, he said. Just as Sean said. You never suspected us at all for 20 years. Why didn't you keep it a secret until the end? Sean asked me to marry him. He seems to have gotten lonely being single at 40. I want to marry Sean too. And I want Sean to be at the wedding as our daughter's father. How dare you say that? So you want to divorce me? Yes. Fine. If you're going to disrespect me that much, I have no desire to stay married to you either. I'll find a lawyer, so let's end this quickly. My mind was made up. I'll find a lawyer and prepare for revenge. That's just too pitiful. Everyone in this story is terrible. He failed at every draw in the lottery of life. The protagonist, who had learned that his daughter is the child of his wife and his brother Sean through his daughter's sudden confession. Moreover, his daughter was on the side of his wife and Sean, not him. Betrayed by his beloved family, the protagonist decided to make the wedding day his day of revenge. What will the protagonist's revenge be? Let's take a look how this intriguing story unfolds. After receiving the shocking confessions from my daughter and wife, I didn't go home. I did not want to see their faces, but I was also so busy with the preparation that I didn't even have time to sleep. On the day of the wedding, I went directly to the venue and changed into the morning suit I had reserved. Sean and my wife appeared together from the family waiting room. They had the air of a long-married couple. They approached me without any hint of remorse. Hey, bro. Thanks for coming to our daughter's wedding. Sean said sarcastically with a smirk. You heard the whole story, right? Well, that's how it is, so be nice. Thanks to me, you got to play house, bro. You should be grateful. And if you think about it, there's no way you could have gotten married on your own. Even if the form changes, family is family. Keep working hard to support us. Is that all you have to say? I handed the signed divorce papers to my wife. You need this, don't you? Sign it. Thank you. I put the divorce papers that she signed into my bag. I'll submit it on my way back. Go get a marriage certificate for us while you're at it. Suppressing the urge to punch him, I left. Just wait, I'll send you to hell later. I peeked into the bride's waiting room before entering the venue. Dad, thanks for the wedding newspaper. It turned out great. And thank you for accepting Mom and Dad Sean. By the way, what's this that I found in your room? I showed her the mail that had been left in her room. You went into my room without permission? You're the worst. Don't bring something like that on a day like this. What are you going to do about it? Can't you take care of it for me, Dad? For your cute daughter. How dare you say that? My daughter was called away by the staff and left the waiting room with her attendant. I also entered the venue. I received a seating chart at the reception. It had the names of the guests for each table, with their titles above their names. Sean was listed as the bride's father, and I was listed as the bride's uncle. How much more are they going to disrespect me? I felt as if I had been standing on the edge of a cliff and then pushed off by my daughter's words. Did she really have to treat the man who raised her for 20 years like that, even though he wasn't her biological father? The little bit of affection I still had for my daughter crumbled away. She needed to be punished just like them too. My resolve hardened, steadying my wavering emotions. Sean walked down the aisle with my daughter, acting as if it were only natural. My daughter's radiant smile, my wife watching over them happily, all three of them were going to hell. The ceremony and reception progressed smoothly according to schedule. The bride and groom left momentarily to change their dresses. Now it was time for the surprise entertainment, my revenge. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems there's some congratulatory news about the newlyweds in a newspaper's special edition. The staff distributed it to each table. It wasn't the one my daughter had planned, but one I had switched out at the last minute. The MC, unaware of the commotion, proceeded as planned. I'd like to hand the mic over to the creator of this wedding newspaper, the bride's uncle. Thank you all for coming today. Have you had a chance to read the special edition that was just distributed? The bride was a child born of an affair. The shocking truth behind a 20-year infidelity. First, let me explain this headline. I was introduced as the bride's uncle earlier, but actually I was the bride's father until 3 days ago. The venue was buzzing. The MC also seemed to have noticed something was amiss. With a frozen smile, she hurriedly contacted someone. Sorry for causing you trouble, Ms. MC. 3 days ago, my daughter told me that I wasn't her real father. She said she had heard it from her mother years ago and had been meeting him without my knowledge. That alone was such a shock that I couldn't get up. Then, to add insult to injury, she said her real father was my brother. The man who just walked her down the aisle as the bride's father. He had pushed his daughter and wife onto me because they would get in the way of his acting career. Not knowing anything, I had lived earnestly as a father for my family. Then my daughter said one last thing. She said she was on Mom's side. My daughter blamed me as if I were the villain trying to get in the way of the two of them. Why did she turn out this way? I'd like to see what kind of parents raised her. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look. Here are the bride's parents who deceived someone for over 20 years and continued their illicit love. Lighting crew, could you please shine a spotlight on table 2? The staff did lighted up the two of them even though it was a surprise. The eyes of the guests all focused on them at once. They've been quietly watching how this would play out. Sorry to keep you waiting. Here are the bride's real parents, the stars of today's event. Let's hear from the bride's mother first. How did it feel to keep up the sham marriage with me? You went on a trip every year, saying you were visiting your mother's grave. Where were you really going? My wife kept her head down, refusing to look up. You can't answer, can you? I'll do for you. You were taking our daughter to meet Sean, right? Now let's hear from the mastermind behind this paternity fraud plot and the bride's biological father, Sean. You're ruining the wedding, are you even human? Did you all hear that, everyone? This man, who deceived his own brother and continued an affair for over 20 years, and me. Which one of us is in the wrong as a human being? Since we have the opportunity, why don't we ask the guests? If you think this man is in the wrong, please give a round of applause. Applause erupted from the venue. Even the MC was clapping, which made me laugh. Thank you, everyone. What are you doing this for? That's cruel. Is this how you treat the wife you shared your life with for 20 years? Boos flew at my wife from the venue as she finally spoke up. You're one to talk. That's right. What are you doing? My daughter, who had heard about the situation from the staff, jumped in wearing her dress. Leave me out of your drama. Don't drag me into it. Are you trying to ruin my wedding? Leave you out of it? How can you say that? Take a look at this. Shameless, irresponsible, and greedy for money. Can you still say this has nothing to do with you after seeing this? I unfolded the second catalog. It was a copy of the certified mail addressed to my daughter. My daughter had borrowed money from multiple men she met on dating apps. Bob is demanding repayment of $50,000 from you. The deadline has passed. You have to pay back what you borrowed. Why are you doing this? I finally got to marry a rich man. So the groom was just a cash cow to you. Just like I was to your mom and Sean. You really are a chip off the old block. That concludes my surprise entertainment for today. I'm sorry it turned out this way, groom. My daughter let out a shriek and looked back at the entrance. The groom was standing there, watching the situation unfold. That's not true, don't be fooled. My daughter screamed at the groom. Ignoring her, the groom spoke to me. You've been through a lot. I almost ended up in the same boat. Thank you for your painful revelation. Of course, the wedding is off. Don't decide that on your own. I won't forgive you if you call off the wedding. The groom took the mic and began to address the guests. Thank you all for coming today. Unfortunately, as you can see, the wedding has been called off. The reason is just as you looked. I was still immature and lacked judgment. I will take this as a lesson and strive to better myself each day. I would appreciate your continued guidance and encouragement. Since you're already here, please enjoy the meal. The loudest applause of the day broke out. I took my daughter, who was crying unsightly, out of the venue. The staff stopped Sean and my wife as they tried to slip out the back. The venue staff are pretty sharp. They're enjoying this, aren't they? I shoved Sean and my wife into a waiting room where a lawyer was waiting. My role was over, and I left the rest to the professionals. I left the venue and submitted the divorce papers. I returned home and packed my things. I don't want to see my wife or Sean, let alone my daughter. I found a new place to live, canceled my cell phone contract. I cut off all contact from the three of them. This was my revenge against my brother and wife who deceived me, and my daughter who betrayed me. For such a timid person to go this far. I feel sorry for the daughter. How so? An ungrateful girl like that got what she deserved. I accept the criticism. Ruining my daughter's wedding. I must be the worst parent ever. She's still young, so I wanted her to reflect and live an honest life. That's a parent's love. You raised her for 20 years, after all. So what happened after that? My wife was laying low in a small apartment with my daughter. But they fought loudly every day, so the residents reported them, and they were kicked out of the apartment. It seems the three of them are now living in Sean's one-room apartment. They must be happy to have the family all together. No thanks. I can't imagine a 40-something couple and their adult daughter sleeping side by side. My wife and daughter are also working to pay off the debt. You can imagine where they're working. That's their only option, huh? Are you living happily? Thanks to you, yes. The president retired and named me his successor. It's a small company with 20 employees though. I'm going to repay the kindness they showed in raising a high school graduate like me. You don't forget to show gratitude to others. And yet your daughter, who was raised by a father. If your daughter had shown even a little remorse, maybe things would have turned out differently. Maybe so. Thank you for listening to my long story. The protagonist, who had raised a daughter believing she was his own. Only to find out she was the result of an affair between his brother and his wife. Sudden confession by his daughter reveals his family's betrayal. The protagonist turns his sadness into anger and carries out a once-in-a-lifetime revenge. How did this story make you feel? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments if you sympathized or surprised, etc. Thank you for sticking with me until the end. Your support means a lot, so please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video.